Palestine really does deserve to be free. Like, it's just...
In what way could you...
I'm just gonna say every single word that I heard on the protests. Colonization, they deserve to be free. And, free from what?
So what's your opinion on the Israel-Palestine conflict at the moment?
So the first thing I want to say, I'm a Palestinian myself, and I think the
Guys, before she talks, she's gonna be guaranteed the most sensible person out of all the doofuses that spoke before. I'm telling you, she's gonna have some brain. She's gonna say some factual things. Let's take a look.
I don't agree with how the European settlers came to Palestine. You know, Europe didn't want them. They were welcomed in Palestine.
And I disagree with how the Muslim colonizers came into the UK. The British people didn't want them, yet you're speaking freely on the land of the UK against whatever you want. Look at that. Hi guys, this is Sahar TV, and in today's video we'll see Turning Point UK going to people, I think on a college campus, asking them if they justify Hamas for what they did, if they condemn Israel, and their responses will annoy the shit out of you. Let's watch.
So what's your opinion on the current situation in Israel and Palestine?
Well, I think the occupation that Israel has been conducting basically since its inception, 1948, I think it's the natural sort of conclusion of 80 years of colonialism and then later apartheid within the existing Israeli territories. I think the armed resistance that has been conducted by several Palestinian groups, I think it is very much chickens coming home to roost sort of situation. It wouldn't happen if there wasn't a backdrop of that sort of colonial and quite brutal colonial history that has been conducted by Israel.
So do you think Hamas is justified in what they're doing at the moment, or would you condemn their actions?
So I wouldn't specifically say I condone the specific group Hamas, because that's illegal in this country now. But I think the Palestinians as a people have a right to resist in whatever method they specifically see as useful.
Great. So he just justified an attempted genocide against the Jewish people of Israel. That is beautiful to see in the UK, you know, the beautiful, peaceful country of the UK. Amazing to see British lads saying stuff like this.
I don't think, with specific things like indiscriminate killing of civilians, I don't know how useful that is. I certainly wouldn't say I'm pro that. Although, on a purely tactical basis, I don't know how useful I would say it is. And I wouldn't condemn it either. I think decolonization is inherently violent. The way you get around that is you don't colonize.
How can Jews be the colonizers of the land they're indigenous to? Can somebody explain that to me down in the comment section? Thank you.
Basically, it's chickens coming home to roost, like I said. While Hamas, definitely, there has been, there's not much restraint in the way they act. They aren't a military in the same way that the IDF is. But in that sense, I think they are held, IDF has to be held to a higher standard if they are supposedly a Western military with their rules of engagement.
Do you see any possible solution for the region?
Not that can be conducted peacefully, I don't think. I don't think Israel wants to conduct something peacefully. The Palestinians don't have a choice. I think what had been going on before was a very slow destruction of the state of Palestine. What is now going on is a very quick one. I don't think...
What state of Palestine are you talking about? It has never existed in history, ever.
I think basically it comes to successful armed resistance from the Palestinians or nothing, or there will be no Palestine left. I think the closest we will have to a solution if the Israelis win is what the Israelis think of a solution, which is the destruction of the state of Palestine. I don't think there's going to be a peaceful solution anytime soon that doesn't involve some sort of genocide or displacement.
And it's such a complicated issue, but the reality of it is that Israel is a colonist power, and I would think that Palestine really does deserve to be free. Like, it's just...
In what way could you...
I'm just gonna say every single word that I heard on the protests. Colonization, they deserve to be free. And free from what? They are not ruled by Israel. They're governed by Hamas and the Palestinian Authority. How about you loosen that ponytail so more oxygen flows into your brain?
See it being free as such?
I would think the best way to go about it is really is really just the dissolution of Israel. Honestly, it's something that I really hope gets sorted out soon, but in the grand scheme of things, I think people just really need to research their history. They really need to look into it and see that in so many cases, in practically every other case, Israel is in the wrong. I'm not...
Name the cases. in the comments down below. Name the cases. Because in 1948, the Arabs started. 1967, the Arabs started. In 1973, the Arabs started. In 1982, the Arabs started. In 1987, the Arabs started. In the year 2000, the Arabs started. In 2006, the Arabs started. 2008, the Arabs started. 2012, the Arabs started. 2014, the Arabs started. 2021, the Arabs started. Every single time, the Arabs start the shit. So you really do need to look into the history, young men or women. According to that hair, I can't really tell.
Condoning the fact that there's so much violence going on by so many different groups on both sides of the conflict, but the reality is the Palestinian people are fighting for themselves, and
For sure.
so long as they get their freedom that they've been fighting for like over 75 years, or roughly 75 years, until they get that, they aren't going to be like as focused on the fact of who's leading the charge.
Countless terror attacks took place from Arabs who live inside Israel with equal rights as the Jews against the Jewish people of Israel. Explain that. They have the freedom. They have the rights. Why would they attack? Why would they bomb themselves? Please, down below in the comment section, flood it.
So obviously there's very like...
So would you say that Hamas are justified in what they're doing then?
Well, in terms of their goal to free Palestine from Israel control, yes. But in terms of the actions of violence that are going on, obviously not, because violence overall is not a way to achieve the means that you need. But if an uprising is what it takes to free the people of Palestine, that's what it takes. It's just as simple as that. We've had cases of uprisings before, specifically in things like Vietnam. My dream solution is that the Western powers like the UK government, like the US government, and several others, they all come together and realize that they made a mistake in authorizing the creation of such a state, and for basically being the reason that so much death is going on in that region, and that every ideology has basically been hypercharged by their involvement.
There's not that much death going on in this region. There's Arab Muslim countries with far more deaths than in Israel, but you don't talk about them or hear about them because nobody talks about them or hears about them. Syria, Yemen, nobody talks about them. How come? Why?
It's simple as that, I think.
So what's your opinion on the Israel-Palestine conflict?
Well, it's obviously a horrible situation. I do feel like the media is representing a false narrative with Israel.
In what sense?
In terms of like how long the conflict has been going on. But I mean, and like now with the terrorist group coming in and like just pushing that story forward instead of like all the atrocities that's been happening over the years, you know?
I judged him correctly. That hair, I knew he was going to say some stupid bullshit.
But I'm not too educated, I guess.
And so would you say you condemn the way in which Israel's acted?
Yeah, I would say that.
And so Hamas is on the other side. Would you condemn them as well, or say they're justified?
That's a tricky question.
So easy to criticize the free state, the democratic state, but so difficult criticizing the designated terrorist organization, designated by the UK, by the way, as a bad thing. Wow.
Because obviously it's horrible what they did as well, but it's hard to say if that's justified for all the years of like damage that's happened in Palestine. Because
what damage has happened? They did so many terror attacks against the Jews. So many terror attacks, thousands of terror attacks against the Jews. It is very easy to say that it's unjustifiable. How can people just say, no, I don't condone the violence, but yeah, they're occupied. They have a right to do it. What the hell are you talking about? They're not occupied by anybody.
to Israel.
So you mentioned obviously condemnation of Israel. Can you name any of the atrocities which you said they've committed?
I couldn't name any off the top of my head, but I just know that they've been just pushing the border. I mean, from what I've been told, so it's not a full, you know, but they've just been pushing on the border for like the last, like forever, pretty much, the Holy Land as such. But yeah, that's it really.
So what's your opinion on the Israel-Palestine conflict at the moment?
So the first thing I want to say, I'm a Palestinian myself, and I think the
Guys, before she talks, she's gonna be guaranteed the most sensible person out of all the doofuses that spoke before. I'm telling you, she's gonna have some brain, she's gonna say some factual things. Let's take a look.
terminology of conflict is wrong, because a conflict just denotes that there's an equal side, you know? Both states, both countries have same kind of weapons, same stuff, but they actually don't. This has been going on for 75 years. I think the world, it's about time they're waking up to it. It didn't just happen 2 weeks ago, or, you know, suddenly, you know, they said, oh, why don't we do something about it? You know, 75 years ago, my granddad was expelled from his country, he had to leave. There's been genocide and massacres. Yeah, I think people just need to wake up, take some action. We say to our leaders, it's about time to take action too.
And I was wrong. There's no genocide that's been committed. Their population size increased like crazy. Wow, what a beautiful proof of genocide.
Hamas has been designated as a terrorist organization, but Israel hasn't. You know, Israel's.
Do you think Israel should be designated as a terrorist organization?
Well, if the shoe fits, wear it, right? You know, it doesn't matter how much funding they receive from the US government or any Western government. You know, people say it's a Western outpost. Whatever your opinion is, if you are a nation state and you want to be recognized as a sovereign state, that doesn't give you a right to kill innocent people, cut off food and water to people who won't receive it from anywhere else, or, you know, attack any aid given to these people. And
He looks like a Pakistani man. Do you think Pakistan has a right to exist? 14 million refugees, both from India and from Pakistan. A minimum number of 100,000 cases of rape in this conflict. Does Pakistan have a right to exist? He's a Pakistani. What do you think he's going to say?
in their prison, doesn't matter who they are, doesn't matter where they're from, doesn't matter what their lineage is, doesn't matter who their ancestors are, they have a right to live where they stand. You can't just kill them because you disagree with their existence.
He thinks we're fighting with them because we disagree with their existence, but he's forgetting that they started every single conflict and war against us. Every single one. So the walls we have are for security, not apartheid. The checkpoints we have are for security, not apartheid. You stop attacking, you get freedom into Israel. But you won't stop attacking because you hate us.
I don't agree with how the European settlers came to Palestine. You know, Europe didn't want them. They were welcomed in Palestine.
And I disagree with how the Muslim colonizers came into the UK. The British people didn't want them, yet you're speaking freely on the land of the UK against whatever you want. Look at that.
People love to, I don't know, everyone's wrong at this point. Who's right, you know?
I think that the atrocities of what's going on in Palestine right now are unspeakable.
So would you then condemn or justify Israel's response to the current terror attack?
I feel, again, that it's very complicated. It does seem to me that it seems a bit out of proportion, given the...
When has war been proportionate, guys? World War II, was that proportionate? The eradication of ISIS, was that proportionate? The fight between Iraq and Iran, was that proportionate? Every war is not proportionate. That's why it's a war. And if you don't want people to die, then don't attack a country that's a lot stronger than you and can crush you to the ground.
The power and the presence they already have over that area, and the situations, the relative inequities in terms of Israel's resources versus what Gaza has, and Gaza being essentially the prisoners of Israel.
So do you think Hamas are then justified in what they're doing at the moment?
I don't really want to address justification, frankly, but as always, with an act of war, there's a retaliatory response. As I said, it seems to me that Israel's response was perhaps out of proportion. Again, this particular incident has to be considered within the larger context of the Israel-Palestine long-standing conflict and standoff. So I think it's quite complicated. And
even if you look at the long standing of Israel and Palestine, you'll see that Israel's in the right and the Arabs are in the wrong. No, I don't condone the violence committed by Hamas, but they are resisting. So you are justifying it. That's very weird. Why would you do it? These people are insane. Thank you for watching this video. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye. If you'd like to watch more of my stuff, please check out my channel down below. If you like what you see, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit that notification button so you can be notified every time I upload new content. If you'd like to support me and the channel financially, you can do that using Buy Me Coffee or Patreon down in the links below. Also, we now have a Discord that you can join down in the link below. And now you can become a YouTube member and enjoy specific YouTube perks. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.